Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Witchy Week Ahead. So, this is a brand new series, both a YouTube series and a podcast series that I am launching. And I'm really excited about this new series. And my intention is to appear weekly at the start of each week to talk about the energy of the week ahead. So, this can be seasonal, this might be lunar, this will be astrological, and anything else too that I am personally connecting with. So it's interesting to me that this idea has come through right in the portal of the full moon in Capricorn, because Capricorn is so much about our calling in this life, our purpose, our goals. And I've been reflecting on that a lot over the last couple of weeks. It's always about this time of year, around the summer solstice, when I start to think about my offerings for the next half of the year, and then also planning for the following year too. So there's always lots of things in the cauldron of ideas and things that are steeping and brewing. And I had a really wonderful chat with my husband yesterday, and he was helping me to get really clear on my ideas and how to share them as well, because this is another big part of our goals in life, isn't it? It's not just having the idea, but it's also how to put that out into the world, which is a very Gemini quality. We've just come through Gemini season. Gemini is all about ideas. It's such an innovative and curious sign, and it is that sort of distribution of ideas. So everything that we've been cultivating since the new moon in Aries has been on this beautiful journey. If we look at the signs, we can view them in triples. So we have Aries, Taurus, and Gemini as the first triple. And Gemini is distributing the ideas, the intentions. I like to think of it like the dandelion seeds blowing on the wind. It is that abundance and that release and that expression. So here we are, the Witchy Week Ahead, episode one, video one, and lots of things to share with you today. My challenge is going to be keeping it short, short and sweet. So we all know, those of you that follow along with my other podcasts, that keeping things short and sweet is not my forte. We're going to see how we go. So early hours of this morning, I think it was around 1:30 a.m., we had the full moon in Capricorn. So this came in on the same day as Mercury stationed retrograde. So Mercury retrograde is one of those things that most magical practitioners will have on their radar. And I remember when I first started to become aware of Mercury retrograde that I would absolutely dread it. I'm not saying I'm completely over that, but I've certainly over the years learned to work with it in a more constructive way, to reframe, and sometimes to look forward to it, which I'll explain about in a little while. But let's begin with this full moon. So there's some really beautiful qualities and synchronicities to this full moon in Capricorn. It is an earth sign, and Capricorn is the elder. I like to think of it the elder of the zodiac. So it's one of the signs that comes in towards the end of the zodiac cycle. And in the northern hemisphere, it's coming in the belly of winter. So we had the new moon in Capricorn all the way back in January this year. I believe it was the 18th of January. And at that time, we had fairly recently come out of the winter solstice portal. And if we think back to that time of year where the land is really quiet, wildlife is really quiet, we're in that very like under the earth state of mind. So everything at that time is in the roots. we're thinking about what we want to dream for the year ahead, but nothing is really ready to appear, to express. Everything is underneath the earth. So that's Capricorn season. So what I love about the Capricorn full moon is it brings those qualities of the winter time. It brings the qualities of the crone archetype right into high summer, which is where we are now in the Northern Hemisphere, just coming out of the summer solstice portal. So what we have the opportunity to connect with here is the wisdom of our inner crone, our inner elder, our inner wise person. And so this is a helpful time to have a conversation with this part of ourselves, to check back in with the intentions, with the goals, with the dreams, with the wishes that we were cultivating and tending to earlier on in the year. One of the things that's so easy to do with our intentions, with our goals, is to become so distracted with everything else that life asks of us. And sometimes those things are unavoidable. There are so many people in my life, myself included right now, who are going through navigating really difficult things with their families, with health journeys, with financial journeys, with change, upheaval. And so I never want to teach from the point of view of not meeting people where they're at. Sometimes things have to be paused, things have to go on the back burner, things have to wait, things don't work out the way that we want them to. That is part of life and a huge part of my Buddhist faith. I have this real kind of mixture between being a practicing witch and druidess and then a Buddhist as well. So I often think of myself more of as a mystic than anything else. But it helps us to understand, that sometimes things just don't work the way that we want them to. And we may well look back at our journals and our vision boards from the start of the year and go, this is just completely gone off track. However, there are other times, aren't there, when we can look at things and we can just kind of recenter and we can pull our awareness back in and we can say, actually, there are some ways that I can pull myself back into alignment. I had forgotten about that thing. I had forgotten the importance of wanting to do this. So it's for us to discern and it's for us to understand whether we can make these changes or not. If we can, brilliant, go ahead. And if we can't, then the practice then is acceptance, isn't it? So Capricorn full moon comes in, the elder, right in the height of summer, where we're in that very creatrix energy. If we look outside at what is happening, the natural world is in full expression. So flowers are in bloom, fruits are beginning to appear on the trees. I think one of the names for this full moon, when you're looking at kind of folklore and different names from different cultures, I think one of the names is the berry moon, because it's the time of year when we start to see the signs of berries beginning to ripen. It is more commonly referred to as the strawberry moon. However, I think it's really important that we decolonize the full moon names. We get given one name for the full moon that we all use. And actually, when we explore, there are hundreds of names for each full moon. And what is typically happening when we're looking at full names is we are using the Native American name for that moon and just the Native American name from one particular tribe. When you look at the tribes, they have so many different names for each full moon, depending on where these communities lived, what was going on with the migration of animals, what was going on with the crops, what was going on with the weather. So looking at it from a Celtic perspective, one of the names for this full moon is the Mead moon, which I love. I don't drink anymore, but I did used to really like mead, very, very strong, that we had some made for our hand fasting for our wedding. It's also referred to as the horse moon and the rose moon, I believe. But yeah, have a little look at my blog, I release a new moon and a full moon blog, and I've listed quite a lot of names for this full moon. But I will continue to do that with these offerings, like I do in the podcast as well, is to just remind us that sometimes we're given almost like a mass-produced label that doesn't belong to the land in which we're from. It is appropriated from another culture and sometimes isn't really relevant to the season that we're in, the land where we live, the plants that we have access to, etc. I also like to invite people to choose their own name for the moon as well. We are the storytellers now, and particularly as practicing witches, if we think of the lineage of witches, things that were passed down from the elders in that family line, your name for the full moon would have been the name that your family referred to that name as, perhaps within the village or the county where they lived, but we wouldn't have these huge umbrella terms. Everything would be very folkloric and passed down. So we get to do that now. And what a wonderful thing to bring into your grimoire practice, to maybe set a page or a couple of pages in your grimoire to draw, collage, create a spread for this full moon, the end of June. What is it for you? What is in your garden? What's on the hedgerow? What are you seeing? For me, this full moon, I've referred to it this year as the elder moon because of it being in Capricorn. And that's really what I'm personally connecting with at this time as well. So I'm doing a lot of work currently with ancestors, with family tree, with ancestors of land as well. So that's my personal name, but it might not be yours. So an invitation there, and I would love to hear your names, and I would absolutely love to see any grimoire spreads that you come up with too. So, as I keep saying, this full moon comes in with that grounded, anchored, wise elder energy, just encouraging us to pause and just have a good look at everything. It's the same invitation that comes with the summer solstice. Solstice means to stand still, or sun stands still. And so it's giving us that sacred pause just to take a breath and just have a good look at everything. Where am I going? What do I want? Have my needs changed? And boundaries. So Capricorn is an incredibly boundaried sign. And this can be a brilliant time of year to come back to our boundaries. Where am I leaking energy? What are my energy drains? And what are my current emotional needs? This is a very Cancerian theme. We're now in Cancer season. Cancer is nurturing, it is nourishment, it's tenderness, and the emotions that perhaps have been not pushed to the side, but maybe in the background slightly as we've been in the mind of Gemini, and now beginning to rise to the surface along with the full moon. And so perhaps there's been an overwhelm the last week or so of these feelings rising up, that we're starting to really understand how we're feeling about things that have been happening for the first half of this year. So we might need different boundaries than we had in the spring, for example, or back in the winter. So a journaling reflection for this full moon. What are my current boundaries? Am I actually keeping them? And do I need new ones? So really important question. Boundaries are always incredibly beneficial for our magical practice as well. So this arrives, as I said before, as Mercury stations retrograde. And we see a lot of information, there's a lot of noise online, isn't there, about retrogrades. And particularly with Mercury, it's the one that people get really fearful of sometimes. So I like to go through some of the R words that I associate with Mercury retrograde. So revisit is one. So if we think about the word retrograde, to look backwards, this is what's happening with the planet. It appears as if it's moving backwards. And so all of the aspects that that planet rules seem to be going in reverse. So if we look at Mercury, Mercury, the winged messenger, this is communication, this is short distance travel, this is technology. So the things that tend to be impacted when Mercury goes retrograde is misunderstandings between one another, so communication breakdowns, mistakes, travel delays, technological interferences. So it tends to be the classic time where things stop working, things break down, we get stuck in traffic, all of this kind of thing. So, first one, revisit. So, looking back is really helpful during a Mercury retrograde. So, all of the things that perhaps we've been leaving at the bottom of the list because we've been focusing on forward moving momentum and the energy of summer being out, being visible, expressing, producing, all of that, we get the opportunity here to pause a little bit on that energy and basically get our affairs in order. So, a lot of the boring stuff. So, if you're self employed, it's a great opportunity to get on top of your books and know how easy it is to just be like, I'll just do it next month, I'll do it next month. Before you know it, it's January and you're going, I haven't done my tax return. So, revisit maybe emails you haven't replied to, texts from ages ago that you haven't replied to. And it can be a really mindful practice actually to be like, how can I get my affairs in order? It's very grounding, it's very centering, it's very Capricorn as well. Reflect is the next one. So yeah, as I've been saying already with the elder element of Capricorn, just having time to just look back, reflect on things. How are you? How has life been? What do you need? How can we use this as a time to process, get clear on things? I've added, this is a new one that I've added this year. I think it's really important. Regulate. So, as things are chaotic during this time, all the things that make the world work, all the ways that we interact with the world, our traveling, our communication, our technology, as all of those things start to glitch, it's so easy to get frustrated, irritated, stressed, and be in this really agitated frame of mind. So I really like to add in regulating practices, so restorative yoga, meditation, just creating beautiful spaces where you can maybe burn some herbs and sit for a little bit, but regulate yourself so that as you meet those challenges, you're able to meet them in a more centered and calm way. I'm not saying I'm particularly good at it, but I do try my best. Okay, return is the other one. So going back over things, returning to your center as well. Return to yourself. Call your energy back. So again, as witches, as magical practitioners, calling your energy back is a very beneficial practice. We reach and extend our energy all of the time and we leave it out there, different situations, different places, different people. So call your energy back. I like to do this regularly anyway, and I recommend to do this as often as you can remember, but particularly with things like a retrograde, call your energy back, come back to center so that you can be really grounded and anchored during this time. I've also added the word resist. So resist starting anything new where possible. I am terrible at this one. If I have an idea, I want to crack on. This is a brilliant example. I wanted to create this new series, and as I've gone to start today, my camera wasn't working. The software that runs my camera has stopped working. So I've ended up having to record this through Zoom. This is the only way that I could do it. And I'm looking at my own notes, resist starting anything new. And I'm like, yeah, but I really want to. So yeah, you navigate that as best as you can. And just knowing that if you are starting something new, there's probably going to be friction, there's probably going to be barriers to that. But where you can, resist launching anything new, starting any big projects, and use this time to just get really clear on what you want to do and how you want to bring that out into the world. So the crystal that I've chosen for this week is smoky quartz. I have this really beautiful large piece of smoky quartz because it's so grounding, it's so centering, it's very earth energy. And if you cleanse your crystal in smoke or in water, you can then set the intention for it to keep you grounded, keep you centered. So yeah, I love smoky quartz for that reason. Obviously, this is a large piece, but you can wear smoky quartz as a pendant. It's really good also for pulling in any negative energy too. Tumble stones of it are lovely, or palm stones to take with you. So yeah, smoky quartz. I thought that was lovely for retrograde energy, for Capricorn energy, and yeah, to just get really centered and calling your energy back. I have pulled a couple of cards for this week. That's another aspect of these videos. Each week I will pull a card from a different deck. Now I've chosen some cards from this beautiful Taurus deck that I was given for my birthday. I am Taurus Sun, and the cards are gorgeous. So they've all got these beautiful illustrations on them, and then a little message on the back. As I was pulling one first, two fell out as opposed to just the one. So we have this. So those of you listening on the podcast, this is an image of a woman, almost like in child's pose in the earth, and then she has plants growing through her back body. This one says, take your time. No one knows the wonderful, reassuring, soft and delicate depths of slowness better than you. Without even realizing it, those in a rush lose out on the taste of kisses and the scent of the people they love. Now is the time to live in the moment without declaring plans for tomorrow. Perfect for this time. And then the next one here, so this is an image of a person kind of gazing out into the universe. And this one says, great ideals. There are no ideals too great for those with a heart like yours. This is the time to cast aside the daily routine of life and unleash your most powerful and brightest dreams. Let them show you the way. So again, I thought this was a beautiful message for the Capricorn moon, because the other aspect of Capricorn as well is it's not just our kind of goals and our, kind of career, almost like this life goals. It is also our soul codes and our soul calling. And it's also our spiritual life. And so Capricorn asks the question, how are we integrating practically? Capricorn is a very practical sign. How are we practically integrating our spiritual life into our daily life? Really, they should be woven together. It shouldn't be that our spiritual life, our magical life, our witchy life is something that exists only within the times where everything else is together. I've got all my work done, I've got my to-do list done, I've got a day off work or whatever. How do we embody? Capricorn is a sign of embodiment as well. How do we embody our spiritual practice? So how do we bring our magic? How do we bring our truth into our life so that it actually influences and infuses into everything that we do? So a really great time to check in. I have been teaching in magical spaces, spiritual spaces for about 15 years now, and it is always really interesting when we get to the summer how things just disintegrate. Our spiritual life, our self-care practices, our magical practices, they really do fall by the wayside. And what tends to happen, and this is just something that I've witnessed with my students and in my communities, is that by the time we get to autumn, people are really burnt out. And then they're going into the autumn and winter in a really burnt out way. So how can we, again, coming back to this Mercury retrograde, ours, recenter, come back to self? How do we call our energy in and make sure that we are still tending to our self-care, that we're still making space for our intuition, for our reflections, for our processing, and that we're not just putting that all to one side until autumn. Yeah, so integration, embodiment, really, really helpful. So those are our messages from the cards for this week. In terms of my green witchery, I love this time of year for plant work. This is the time of year where I'm just in the garden most days and most evenings. And I really love gathering herbs in the solstice portal. According to many, many folklore accounts, the best time of year for gathering magical plants and herbs is midsummer. They have a particular potent magic to them. So if you can be gathering your herbs for the rest of the year around about now, and also with the full moon. So if you've got this full moon that's coming in right near the summer solstice, then it's going to be packed full of magic. So I have been gathering lots and lots of flowers from the garden. So sweet peas, I've got roses, I've got calendula, and all of this is going to be used at the end of the year. So I like to make potpourri with my daughter Orla, and we give that as gifts for people at Christmas time. And it's a really nice thing to have the potency, positivity, the energy of the sun within the petals to then give at the time of year where we don't have a lot of sun, we don't have any, well, many flowers appearing at that time. So that's what I'm currently in the process of doing. Also gathering lots and lots of lavender. We have this huge lavender bush in the front garden. So lots of lavender. Lavender gets really overlooked, I think, magically speaking, and it's very powerful to work with for intuition, for crown chakra and third eye chakra activation. And it's also brilliant for burning. So you can pull the flowers off and sprinkle them into loose incense. You can also have them like this and burn them. Obviously, you have something safe to catch underneath, but lavender can be brilliant for using as sacred smoke. So something that I don't teach and I don't advocate is the practice of smudging or the use of white sage. Again, going back to what I was saying before about decolonizing our practice, smudging is a closed practice. It belongs to Native American culture. And white sage used for that purpose too is a closed practice. So we have an abundance of herbs here where I live anyway, that I can use for sacred smoke. So from a Celtic perspective, mugwort would have been used for many, many things. I use nettle, I use dandelion, I use lavender, I use rosemary and garden sage. They're readily available, they're easy to dry, they're easy to burn, and they work beautifully. So we don't need to be appropriating from another culture. We don't need to be flying plants that are endangered over to this country for us to have a successful cleansing practice with smoke. There's lots of things that we can use here. And this is something that we're going to be exploring a lot in these videos, lots of plants that we can use, different ways that we can use them. And then with Witch School, that is starting in September. So Witch School is an in-person offering at my beautiful studio in Claverley in Shropshire. And we're going to be gathering once a month on a Saturday. And the clue is in the title. It is witch school. We're going to be working with how to make our own ceremonial incense, how to work with plants, and it is going to be absolutely wonderful, and I cannot wait. So bookings are already starting to come in for that. It's looking to be quite busy actually. So do reach out if you're local and you would like to join us for that. So we're going to be exploring the seasons. We're going to be looking at plant allies, and then we're going to be looking at the physical practices that maybe we haven't had the opportunity to learn or practice together in a really safe and held space. So energetically safe is what I'm referring to there. So how to practice things like scrying and other types of divination in a setting that has been cast, so an energetically safe environment. And we'll be looking at how to create energetically safe environments as well. So yeah, do reach out if you're interested in that. But if you're not local, you're overseas, then we can be here together for the Witchy Week Ahead. Couple of things to finish off showing you that I'm excited about. So I found this in the works for £4. So again, if you're listening to this as an audio, this is a goddess colouring book. I just had to get it. I couldn't resist. It's got gold. It's embossed with gold on the front as well. But yeah, it's just gorgeous, and I can't wait to start colouring it in. So I'm just trying to find. So yeah, this is Bridget. So she might be the one that I colour in first. Surprise, surprise. But yeah, great for grimoires as well. And it, you know, it's a really nice act of devotion to colour in or adorn or paint images of goddess. So you could actually do that as a devotional practice. So setting up your sacred space, putting on the herbs that are associated with that particular goddess, or offerings that you intuitively feel that that goddess would like, getting candles on, some beautiful music, and then sitting and taking that care and devotion to colouring in that image of goddess and having that as an act of prayer, an act of connection with that goddess, and see what comes through as you're colouring. So you might get some communication, you might get some messages. So yeah, in the works currently. I think they, like I said, £4. I've just finished this book called The Winter of the Witch. So this is by Katherine Arden. I bought this from a charity shop for £1. I absolutely bought it for the cover and was not disappointed, but I did discover quite quickly that this is book 2 in a series. So I am going to go back and read book 1, but I really recommend this. Probably a good one to save for autumn and winter, because a lot of it takes place in the snow in the winter. But it is fantastic, and the detail of Russian folklore is exquisite. I feel like I've learned a lot about folklore. Yeah, really, really beautiful book. I just need to do my book journal to go along with it, which I'll share with you when I've finished that. So next read is this beautiful book. Again, absolutely picked it because of the front cover. I saw it on Instagram and was like, what is this? So this is called The Between Worlds B&B, and it's by Amy May Baxter. So I'm reading this with 2 of my really close friends. So we've just started. And again, I'll let you know how it goes. And I will be doing a book journal spread on that as well. Okay, so I have no idea how long this video is. Maybe I've kept it short and sweet, maybe I haven't, but this is the first Witchy Week Ahead. Couple of tech glitches along the way, but really grateful for anybody that's taken the time to watch or to listen to this first episode. I would love to hear from you. So you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on Facebook, Michelle Rose Boxley, and I have a Patreon platform called Sisters of the Moon. We gather once a month in circle, and we have our Cancer season circle this Thursday evening at 8 o'clock UK time. And we go really in detail into that particular side. We spend time discussing together. We go through journaling prompts. We look at the mythology, the folklore, the element, the qualities, the archetypes of that sign. And then I guide us through a meditation as well to connect. And then the idea being that we take that reflection through the whole of the season of that sign. So if you want to join us for that, you can join the Moon Circle Patreon tier, which is $10 a month. That gives you access to the archive recordings there as well. You can also just join Patreon for free, and it's where I post my blogs about the new and the full moon and the seasonal festivals as well. So thank you all so much. I'd love to hear from you how this first episode has landed. So do reach out and let me know. And I will be back next week. The Witchy Week Ahead, we'll be looking at the week, the other side of the full moon. We're going to be looking at practices for the waning moon. It's the final quarter moon next week. We'll be checking in about Mercury retrograde, seeing how we're getting on, and the other astrological qualities that are coming in for next week as well. All right, everybody, take care, stay magical, and I will see you soon.